The impossible shot princess literally knelt on the cold metal floor of the execution chamber, her silver hair cascading over her shoulders like liquid moonlight. The energy restraints around her wrists hummed with power, designed to drain the life force from any Azureth who dared to resist. Above her, Commander Vex's reptilian features twisted into what might have been a smile. "The last of the royal bloodline," Vex hissed, his forked tongue tasting the air. "Your people will finally accept their place as servants when they see your death broadcast across every screen on Zeraphim." Lyrily raised her head, her violet eyes blazing with defiance. "My people have survived worse than you, Kithrin. We will survive this too." Vex's laugh was like grinding glass. "Survive? Child, your world has been conquered. Your armies are scattered. Your allies have abandoned you. There's no hope left in this galaxy." 3.2 kilometers away, Marine Sergeant Marcus Chun adjusted his scope and breathed slowly. The crystalline formations of Zeraphim's surface created a natural blind around his position, but they also made his shot nearly impossible. The moon's unique atmospheric layers bent light in strange ways, and the gravitational anomalies from the planet's twin moons created unpredictable trajectory shifts. "Chan, report," crackled Captain Rodriguez's voice through his earpiece. "We're running out of time." Marcus studied the readouts on his rifle's integrated computer. Wind speed varied between the three atmospheric layers. The Kithrin energy shields around the prison complex created electromagnetic interference. The target was a window barely 30 centimeters wide, and he'd have exactly one shot before the entire facility went into lockdown. "Negative on conventional approach, Captain," Marcus whispered. "The physics don't work. Too many variables." "And make them work, Marine. That princess is the key to this entire resistance movement." Marcus had been a sniper for 8 years, but he'd never attempted anything like this. His instructors at Camp Pendleton would have called it suicide. The Kithrin military analysts would have called it impossible. But Marcus had grown up in the mountains of Colorado, where his grandfather taught him to read wind patterns and trust his instincts over calculations. He closed his eyes and felt the moon's rhythm. The twin gravitational poles created a pattern, a dance of forces that the Kithrins had never learned to perceive. They were too rigid, too dependent on their technology to understand the subtle harmony of natural systems in the execution chamber. Vex raised his plasma rifle. "Any last words, Princess?" Lyrile's voice was steady. "I forgive you." The words struck Vex like a physical blow. In all his years of conquest, no one had ever said that to him. Forgiveness was a concept the Kithrin Empire had eliminated from their culture centuries ago. "What did you say?" "I forgive you," she repeated. "You do this because you know no other way. But my people remember what it means to choose compassion over conquest." Marcus felt it then, the moment when all the variables aligned. The gravitational dance reached its peak. The atmospheric layers settled into harmony, and the energy shields cycled to their lowest power state. He had perhaps 3 seconds. His finger found the trigger. The rifle was an old Earth design, chemical propellant instead of the energy weapons favored by most galactic civilizations. The Kithrins had dismissed human ballistic technology as primitive, but primitiveness had its advantages. Chemical rounds weren't affected by electromagnetic interference. The shot rang out across the crystalline landscape. What happened next defied every law of physics that the Kithrin Empire understood. The bullet should have been deflected by the first atmospheric layer. Instead, it rode the gravitational currents like a surfer on a wave, using the moon's own forces to maintain its trajectory. When it hit the second layer, where the air density changed dramatically, the bullet should have tumbled end over end. Instead, it seemed to dance through the turbulence, as if guided by an invisible hand. The third layer presented the greatest superheated plasma gases that would have vaporized any normal projectile. But Marcus had loaded a special round, one designed by human engineers who understood that sometimes the best technology was the simplest. The bullet's core was made from compressed earth metals wrapped in a polymer shell that actually fed off. The plasma energy using it to maintain velocity by the time the bullet reached the prison complex. It was moving faster than when it left the barrel. The energy shield detected the incoming projectile and activated its deflection matrix. But the shield was designed to stop energy weapons and guided missiles, not a simple piece of metal traveling at impossible speeds. The bullet passed through the shield like it wasn't there. Commander Vex was in the middle of raising his weapon when the bullet struck. It didn't hit him. Marcus was too good a shot for that. Instead, it shattered the control panel for the execution chamber, sending sparks flying across the room. The energy restraints around Liralay's wrists flickered and died. The princess moved with fluid grace, her years of combat training taking over. She rolled behind the chamber's central pillar as Vex's plasma rifle discharged where she'd been kneeling. The shot carved a molten furrow in the metal floor. Impossible, Vex roared, his voice echoing through the chamber. The shot came from outside the perimeter. No one can shoot through our shields. But even as he spoke, alarms began blaring throughout the facility. His tactical display showed something that made his blood run cold. The shot had originated from beyond the maximum effective range of any known sniper rifle. The angle was impossible, the distance inconceivable. Marcus was already moving, his position compromised by the muzzle flash. He'd expected to have perhaps 30 seconds before Kithran air support arrived. Instead, he had less than 10. The enemy was adapting faster than anticipated. He slid down the crystalline slope, his rifle slung across his back. Captain Rodriguez's voice crackled through his earpiece. "Chun, what the hell just happened? Our sensors are going crazy." "I took the shot, Captain. The princess should be free." "Negative on that. We're showing massive energy spikes from the prison complex. Whatever you did, it stirred up a hornet's nest." Marcus reached the bottom of the slope and sprinted toward the rendezvous point. Behind him, he could hear the whine of Kithran aircraft engines spinning up. They'd be in the air within minutes, and once they were airborne, his chances of survival dropped to nearly zero. But he'd done his job. The impossible shot had worked out in the execution chamber. Princess Liralay faced Commander Vex across the sparking. Remains of the control panel. The Kithran officer's eyes were wide with something she'd never seen in one of his species before. Fear. "Who are you?" he demanded, his weapon trained on her. "What kind of allies do you have?" Liralay smiled, and for the first time in months, it reached her eyes. "We call them humans, Commander. And apparently, they don't believe in impossible." The blast door to the chamber suddenly exploded inward, revealing a squad of Kithran soldiers. But instead of reinforcements for Vex, they were clearly in panic mode. Their formation was ragged, their movements hasty. "Commander," the squad leader shouted, "we're under attack. The perimeter has been breached." Vex's head snapped toward the soldier. "Breached? By whom? We have sensors covering every approach." "Unknown. Sir, they're using projectile weapons and stealth technology we can't counter. 3 of our guard towers are down, and we can't get a lock on the attackers." As if summoned by the soldier's words, another impossible shot rang out. This time, it took out the chamber's main lighting system, plunging the room into emergency illumination. In the red-tinged darkness, Liralay moved. Her people had evolved on a world where the sun set for months at a time. Darkness was their natural element, not a hindrance. She flowed between the shadows like water, her bare feet silent on the metal floor. When she reached the first soldier, her hand found the nerve cluster at the base of his neck, a pressure point that would render him unconscious without permanent harm. The Azurth did not kill unless they had no choice. It was a philosophy that had served them for millennia, even as it made them appear weak to species like the Kithrans. But weakness and mercy were not the same thing, and Liralay had learned the difference through years of war. The second soldier turned toward the sound of his comrade falling, but Liralay was already behind him. Another precise strike, another body dropping silently to the floor. Commander Vex spun wildly, his plasma rifle sweeping the room, but the princess was no longer where his eyes expected her to be. "You cannot hide forever," Vex snarled. "This facility is impregnable. Your human allies will die, and you will watch before I execute you myself. Liralay's voice came from everywhere and nowhere, a whisper that seemed to echo from the chamber's walls. You still don't understand, do, Commander? This was never about hiding. This was about hope. Another shot from outside, Marcus had found a new position and was systematically taking out the facility's defensive systems. Each round struck with surgical precision, targeting weak points that the Kithrans had never imagined could be exploited. Power junctions, sensor arrays, communication relays, all fell to the human sniper's impossible accuracy. Hope, Vex laughed. But there was no humor in it. Hope is a luxury for the weak. We are the strong. We are the inevitable. No, Liralay said, stepping out of the shadows directly in front of him. You are the desperate. You conquer because you have forgotten how to create. You destroy because you have lost the ability to build. And you fear us because we remember what you have forgotten. Vex's finger tightened on the trigger, but he hesitated. The princess stood before him unarmed, unafraid, her violet eyes reflecting the chamber's emergency lighting. In that moment, she looked exactly like the ancient statues of Azureth queens. That the Kithrans had ordered destroyed, regal, compassionate, and utterly unbreakable. What have we forgotten? He asked, his voice barely a whisper. Liralay smiled. That the impossible is only impossible until someone makes it possible. The chamber's blast door exploded again, but this time it was human voices that filled the air. Captain Rodriguez's assault team had breached the facility's outer defenses, using Marcus's covering fire to advance through supposedly impregnable barriers. Princess, Rodriguez shouted as his team poured into the chamber. We're getting you. Out of here. But Liralay's attention was still focused on Commander Vex. The Kithran officer stood frozen, his weapon lowered, his reptilian features twisted in confusion. Around him, his empire's supposedly perfect prison was crumbling under the assault of creatures his species had dismissed as primitive. Come with us, she said to him, extending her hand. You don't have to be what they made you. For a moment, just a moment, Vex looked at her outstretched hand. Then the conditioning of a lifetime reasserted itself. He raised his weapon, but Captain Rodriguez was faster. The human officer's sidearm barked once, and Vex crumpled to the floor, unconscious but alive. We need to move, Rodriguez said. Chans? Bought us maybe 10 minutes before they bring up the heavy artillery. As they ran through the facility's corridors, Liralay found herself thinking about the sniper who had made all this possible. She had never met him, might never meet him, but his impossible shot had changed everything. Not just for her, but for every being who had ever been told that their dreams were too big, their hopes too wild, their resistance too weak. The humans had taught her something profound that day. Impossible was just another word for untried. Asterisk. The Reckoning General Thane's flagship dropped out of hyperspace with the grace of a falling mountain. The Kithran dreadnought was 3 kilometers long, bristling with enough firepower to glass a small planet. Its arrival in Zeraphim's orbit sent shockwaves through both the Loyalist forces and the resistance cells scattered across the moon's surface. Report, Thane commanded as he strode onto the bridge, his black armor gleaming under the ship's harsh lighting. Unlike the common soldiers of his species, Thane had modified himself with cybernetic enhancements that made him faster, stronger, and more ruthless than any natural Kithran. The prison facility has been compromised, General, his aide reported, data streaming across the bridge's main display. The Azureth princess has been extracted, along with several high-value political prisoners. Preliminary estimates suggest the attack was carried out by a small human strike team. Thane's augmented eyes narrowed. Humans, the same species that was classified as subsapient in her initial surveys. The same, General, but sir, the method of attack is unprecedented. The display shifted to show a tactical analysis of the prison break. Thane studied the data with growing disbelief. A single projectile weapon had somehow penetrated 3 atmospheric layers, bypassed gravitational anomalies, and punched through military-grade energy shields. The shot had originated from a position that was theoretically impossible to fire from. "This is sensor malfunction," Thane declared. "No organic being could make such a shot." "We thought so too, General. But we've confirmed the data with multiple independent sensors." The shot was real, and it came from a human sniper. Thane was quiet for a long moment, his enhanced mind processing the implications. The Kithran Empire had conquered 47 worlds in the past century, each one falling to their superior technology and military doctrine. No species had ever surprised them. No enemy had ever done something their computers couldn't explain. "Bring me everything we have on human military capabilities," he ordered, "and prepare my personal assault craft. I want to examine this impossibility myself." 3 hours later, Dane stood in the ruins of the prison complex's execution chamber. The damage was surgical. Each shot had targeted specific systems with inhuman precision. His forensic team had traced the trajectory of the primary shot, and the math made his processors ache. "General," his chief scientist reported, "we've reconstructed the shot path. The projectile somehow used the moon's gravitational anomalies to maintain its trajectory. It's as if the sniper understood the local physics better than our own computers." "Impossible," Thane said automatically. But even as he spoke the word, he remembered the prisoner's statement. The Azureth princess had said that impossible was just another word for untried. Dr. Sarakim crouched behind a crystalline outcropping 2 kilometers from the prison complex, her instruments recording everything. As the embedded physicist with the human rescue team, she was supposed to be documenting Kithran technology for future intelligence reports. Instead, she found herself studying something far more interesting: the unique properties of Seraphims. "Quantum crystalline structure?" "Marcus," she whispered into her comm unit, "I need you to look at something." The sniper's voice came back immediately. "Doc, we're supposed to be maintaining radio silence." "This is important. That shot you made, it shouldn't have been possible with conventional physics. But this moon's crystal formations are creating quantum entanglement fields. You didn't just make a lucky shot. You somehow intuitively used quantum mechanics." There was a pause. "Doc, I don't know what quantum mechanics are. I just read the wind and trusted my gut." Sarah smiled despite their dangerous situation. "That's exactly what makes you terrifying, Marcus. You're doing things that our best computers can't calculate, and you're doing them by instinct." Meanwhile, in the Resistance hideout carved deep into Zeraphim's crust, Princess Lirale sat across from Elder Morveth, the oldest surviving member of her people's council. The ancient Azureth's eyes were milky with age, but his mind remained sharp as a blade. "The legends speak of star-touched warriors," Morveth said, his voice like wind through crystal caves. "Beings who would come from the void, carrying fire in their hands and impossible dreams in their hearts." Lirale leaned forward. "You think the humans are the star-touched from the prophecies? I think the universe has a sense of humor, child. We spent generations looking to the stars for salvation, never imagining it would come from a small blue world that our astronomers cataloged as unremarkable. Above them, Captain Rodriguez's team was setting up defensive positions around the hideout's entrances. The captain himself was huddled over a tactical display with Marcus and Dr. Kim, planning their next move. "The princess is safe for now," Rodriguez said. "But Thane's arrival changed everything. That dreadnought has enough firepower to crack this moon like an egg." Marcus studied the tactical display. "What about the quantum fields Doc mentioned? Can we use them again?" Sarah pulled up her readings. "The crystalline formations create predictable entanglement patterns. If we could somehow weaponize them—" "We don't need to weaponize them," Marcus interrupted. "We just need to understand them better than the Kithrans do." General Thane's investigation had led him to a disturbing conclusion. The humans weren't just lucky. They were adaptable in ways that the Kithran military had never encountered. Every standard countermeasure failed because the humans simply changed their approach. "They're not following proper military doctrine," his tactical officer reported. Their formations are irregular, their equipment is primitive, and their methods are ... unorthodox. Unorthodox, Thane repeated. That's what makes them dangerous. He turned to face the bridge's main display, where a real-time feed showed the search for the human strike team. Dozens of patrol craft swept the moon's surface, their sensors probing every crystal formation and underground cavity. But the humans had simply vanished. General, his communications officer announced, we're receiving a transmission from the surface. It's the human strike team leader. Put it through. Captain Rodriguez's voice filled the bridge. General Thane, I presume. I'm Captain Rodriguez, Earth Marine Corps. I believe you're looking for us. Thane's augmented features showed no emotion. Captain Rodriguez, you will surrender immediately, or I will reduce this moon to slag. I don't think you will, General. See, we've been studying your empire's history. You're conquerors, not destroyers. You need the resources on this moon too badly to destroy them, perhaps. But I can certainly destroy you. Maybe. But first, I want to show you something. The transmission shifted to a video feed. Thane found himself looking at the human sniper Marcus Chen crouched next to one of Seraphim's massive formations. The man was making adjustments to his rifle, but not in any way that Thane's military database recognized. Your computers are probably telling you that what you're about to see is impossible, Rodriguez continued. But here's the thing about humans, General. We specialize in impossible. Marcus raised his rifle and fired. The shot seemed to disappear into the crystal formation beside him, but Thane's sensors immediately detected an energy spike 3 kilometers away. The bullet had somehow traveled through the quantum entanglement field, emerging from a different crystal formation entirely. Quantum tunneling. Dr. Kim's voice joined the transmission. Your empire never discovered it because your technology is too advanced. You've forgotten how to work with natural systems instead of trying to dominate them. Thane's processors struggled to comprehend what he'd witnessed. The humans had weaponized the moon's natural properties in ways that violated everything the Kithern Empire understood about warfare. What do you want? He asked. Simple, Rodriguez replied. Safe passage off this moon for the princess and her people. In exchange, we'll leave peacefully, and you can pretend this never happened. And if I refuse, then we'll teach every resistance cell in the galaxy how to use quantum entanglement fields. How long do you think your empire will survive when every primitive world can make impossible shots? The threat hung in the air like a sword. Thane realized that he was facing something far more dangerous than a military defeat. He was facing the collapse of everything the Kithern Empire believed about its own superiority. In the Resistance hideout, Princess Lirale watched the negotiation with growing wonder. The humans had turned the tables on their supposed superiors using nothing but ingenuity and adaptation. They had taken the Kithrun's greatest weakness, their inability to think beyond their programming, and exploited it perfectly. Elder, Morvith, she said softly, I think our people have a lot to learn from the Star-Touched. The old Azurith smiled. Indeed, child, and perhaps we have something to teach them as well. The standoff continued for 6 hours. General Thane's fleet maintained orbit while the human strike team demonstrated their ability to use the moon's quantum fields in increasingly impossible ways. Each demonstration drove home the same point. The Kithrun's technological superiority meant nothing if they couldn't adapt. Finally, Thane made his decision. Captain Rodriguez, you have your safe passage. But understand this, the Kithern Empire will not forget what happened here. We're counting on it, General, Rodriguez replied. Sometimes the galaxy needs to be reminded that there's always another way. As the human transport ship lifted off from Seraphim's surface, Princess Lirale stood at the observation deck, watching the crystalline formations fall away below. Beside her, Marcus Chen cleaned his rifle with the methodical precision of a true craftsman. Thank you, she said. Simply, Marcus looked up from his weapon. For what? For showing me that impossible is just another word for untried. He smiled. My grandfather used to say that the best shot isn't the one that follows the rules. It's the one that makes its own rules. Your grandfather sounds like a wise man. He was. He also would have loved this moon. All these crystal formations, the way the light bends, it's like nature's own shooting gallery. Princess Leerily laughed, and the sound was like music in the transport's sterile air. Perhaps when this war is over, you could come back. As a friend, not a soldier. I'd like that, Marcus said. Though I have a feeling the war is just beginning. He was right. Word of the impossible shots on Zeraphim spread throughout the galaxy, like wildfire. Resistance movements on a dozen worlds began studying human tactics, learning to work with their environments instead of against them. The Kithran Empire found itself facing something they'd never encountered before. Enemies who refused to fight. Fair. But that was a story for another day. For now, Princess Leerily was free. Her people had hope again, and somewhere in the vast galaxy. A human sniper had proven that the impossible was just another target waiting to be hit. General Thane watched the human transport disappear into hyperspace, his augmented mind already working on countermeasures for quantum entanglement warfare. But deep in his processors, a new subroutine was forming, one that whispered a disturbing truth. The humans weren't just another species to be conquered. They were evolution itself, adaptation given form, the universe's way of keeping everyone else honest. And for the first time in his enhanced existence, General Thane felt something. His species had bred out of themselves centuries ago. He felt afraid. The transport ship carrying Princess Leerily and her human rescuers jumped to hyperspace, but they left something behind on Zeraphim, a legend. The story of the impossible shot would be told for generations, growing in the telling, inspiring others to believe that no situation was truly hopeless. And in the quantum crystal caves of Zeraphim, the moon itself seemed to hum with approval. The star-touched had come at last, and the galaxy would never be the same. Asterisk.